Greetings, brothers and sisters, saints in Jesus Christ. I am blown away by my study on Paul. I'm in Ephesians 3. Paul was murdering Christians. Paul was there when Stephen was martyred. God used Paul, and he turns him from the dominion of Satan to God on the road to Damascus. And now Paul will not shut up. And now I understand it's by the power of the Holy Spirit. He is being used to reveal the mystery of God to the entire world. There's only one Paul, and Paul is willing to die for Jesus Christ. Paul was whipped 5 times, 39 times, each time to the max. Paul was stoned with boulders. Paul was put in prison. Paul was beaten. He was in chains. He would not shut up, and now I understand why to a greater extent. Because he realizes God chose him before the foundations of the world to reveal the mystery of God. So God allows us to see revelations of his wisdom. And so what Paul's saying is that even though I was persecuting Christians, God is revealing it to me to reach the Gentiles. Now, how is that possible? He hated Gentiles. It's possible because God opened his eyes. So after that road to Damascus, we can see that the Holy Spirit was empowering him to understand the Old Testament he already had memorized for 3 years in Arabia. And now he can bring it back to the promises to Abraham. He can bring it back to the Isaiah prophecy 700 years beforehand that says it's going to the Gentiles. And he can see, oh my gosh, and now he realizes he's being chosen to reveal the mystery of the gospel. So he's just willing to die for it. He's willing to sing in prison, and there's no stopping it. Because, I mean, how much more empowering is it to realize you are being used by God to reveal something to somebody else? So there's going to be other little Pauls. So people that went from like being an ISIS guy, being an LGBTQ person, being an Aryan Brotherhood guy, being a Mexican Mafia guy, being an ex-drug trafficker prisoner, violent person, whatever it is, maybe it's just your story of addiction from darkness to light, whatever it is, once it's revealed that you're being used to help people realize that Christ is rescuing them also, now you're empowered. Now you won't shut up about it. And that's how we see Paul is. Paul is showing us so many things about the spiritual war. He's showing us that Satan reveals himself as light. He says he masquerades as light. He's also revealing to us that the Old Testament is totally different in that the New Testament, the angels are looking in. Peter says the angels are looking in to see what's happening. Paul is revealing that the principalities and powers, he's explaining how God is revealing his work in the church to heaven right now. So your rescue, the heavenly forces are watching what's happening. I believe we're in end times. Paul shows us more specifically than anybody else. Peter a little bit too, but Paul more specifically than anything else. Look at 2 Thessalonians. Look at the apostasy verse, the great falling away. Why do all the disciples say, be sober-minded so much? Be clear-minded. Your adversary, the devil, roars around looking for who he can devour. It's because there's so much false doctrine. It's because there's so many people preaching another Jesus. And Paul is willing to die for Jesus. So are the disciples. They wouldn't have been willing to if they were just living for the world. And that's what they say, to not be living for the world. So, wow. No wonder he's so on fire. He realizes God's using him to reveal the mystery and the wisdom of God that's still playing out to this day that you get to be a part of when that penetrating truth enters your heart and you're like, wow, I understand that. Look at, first of all, he writes 13 of the 27 books of the New Testament. So that shows you the economy of God's love and the economy of his glory to take someone stuck in the dominion of Satan, stuck in sin, and yank them out of it. And while you're being yanked out of it, you get the revelation that, hey, I'm speaking truth into the area that I used to be in to free the captives. And it's not by your power, it's by the power of what Christ did. Praise be his name.